the lengths to which some people will go to get a specific Christmas gift. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this one's a little bit different. This is going to be officially titled MacVoices Holiday Gift Guide number 6, but it's only going to feature one guest. When Josh Centers and I sat down to do his contribution to our year-ending virtual gift guide, I thought that this was going to be a 5, 7, 10-minute discussion. It turned into a whole lot more than that because it just goes to show you the lengths to which some people will go to get a Christmas gift and some of the resources that are out there and how technology is being used, you might even say abused, in the search for one particular set of gifts. But I'm going to let Josh tell you all about it. So here we go. Next up on this year's gift guide, I'm happy to welcome back Josh Centers. Josh, welcome. It's great to have you, and thanks for participating this year.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Josh is here. He's going to do something a little bit different because he didn't have 4 picks that he felt comfortable making, but he did have a little bit of a story to tell that we hope will influence at least one of your holiday gifts and maybe how to get it. So Josh, I'll let you run with it from there.
Yeah, so the reason, one of the reasons I was uncomfortable choosing any picks this year is because our supply chain is just totally hosed, and it seems like it's hard to buy much of anything. And one of the things people have had a really hard time buying over the past year are these new video game consoles, like the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. There's 2 of them. And I was recently given the unenviable task of buying a PlayStation 5 for a family member, and I was not happy with that because I've known a lot of people who tried to get one for over a year, and thankfully I studied hard. I did my homework. I got some tips from some friends, and I managed to score one within a week. And so hopefully I have some tips that will help you with that.
Okay, so I'm not a game console guy. So is this a hot product this year, or is this just a hot product overall?
Yeah, it's a very hot product. Especially the PlayStation 5. It's interesting because my understanding is it's the fastest selling PlayStation console of all time. Yet it's actually one of the least selling because they cannot make enough due to the semiconductor shortage out of Taiwan and some other factors, general supply chain messiness. And so it's gotten to be a really ugly market. If you go to like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, people are buying these things and reselling them for, $800, $1,000 or more. It's really ugly, and people are just desperate to get these things, and they're pretty hard to get.
Josh, every year it seems like there's a toy or an electronics piece or something that becomes sort of the object of the season to try to get. And it sounds like this is, if this isn't the one this year, this is certainly one of them.
Well, there's several, and honestly, it's the worst I've ever seen. I lived through, Cabbage Patch Kids and Tickle Me Elmo and everything else, but it's several items. In fact, and this advice can probably apply to a lot of this stuff. So the PlayStation 5 is hard to get. There's 2 editions of the PlayStation 5. There's a digital edition, and then there's an edition that has a disc drive. The Xbox Series consoles, there's a Series S and a Series X. The main difference between them is the X has a disc drive. There's some more differences between those 2 than the PlayStations. And then also getting graphics processors for gaming PCs is very difficult because of the crypto mining craze. And people use these graphics processors to mine cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. And so those can be very hard to get. I was recently tempted, I'd like to build a gaming PC. And I looked at the prices on these things, and like mid-range NVIDIA cards are going for like over $2,000. It's just absolutely insane right now. And and a lot of it is thanks to bots. People will make these little programs that go and buy up the supply, and then they resell it on Amazon, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, these various places. And it's just a brutal market. And it really sucks if you're trying to get one of these for a child or a loved one, and you're having to deal with these scalpers. And so my first piece of advice is do not buy from the scalpers. Don't encourage them. I've known some people who are scalpers. A lot of times it's poor people who are just trying to make some extra money. But I mean, the fact is they're doing it at the expense of other people. So, let's try not to encourage that if we can help it. And another tip I'll offer too, and apparently this is a really common thing I learned about in my research, and that is if you're on Twitter and you get a DM from somebody offering to sell you a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox or something like that, don't fall for it, because there's so much money in this market that there are hacker groups that are taking over verified accounts. So you'll get a DM from a blue check and you'll think it's legit, and then it turns out it was a hacked account. You send your money over and you'll never get a PlayStation. So you definitely don't want to do those two things. The best advice I can offer, and this is just how insane things are, is that there are people who right now their full-time job is helping people buy Xboxes and PlayStations. There's one guy in particular. His name is Matt Swider. He is on Twitter at Matt Swider, MattsWider. And he's also on YouTube. He's a really good resource to follow. And sometimes he will do a Twitter space where he talks about the market and he'll offer advice. And I highly recommend tuning into those, because this guy is just full of knowledge about how this market is working and your percentage chances with various routes and all that. For instance, if you're going for a PlayStation 5, you are 14 times more likely to get the $500 version that takes discs than you are to get the $400 version that doesn't take discs. And what's funny is on the third party markets, the cheaper PlayStation is going for more than the more expensive PlayStation, because more people want the cheaper one because it's cheaper, so they're willing to pay more to get the cheaper PlayStation. It's funny how human psychology works. But
wait, hold on. I got to stop you there. I got to help me understand this. I heard what you said. So if I get the one that doesn't take discs, it costs retail. It costs less. Is that correct?
At retail it costs less, but with the scalpers it costs more because it's more in demand.
Okay, so but if I get the one with discs, does that mean? I mean, is there any functional difference? Obviously, the one that doesn't take discs, I can't put discs in. Is there any functional difference between that and the one that I can put discs in?
So with the PlayStation 5, I believe the consoles are the same. The more expensive one might have a little bit more storage space, but they're basically the same. Now on the Xboxes, the Series X is much more powerful than the Series S. Incidentally, though, the Series S is a lot easier to buy. I've seen several opportunities to get one of those, and it wasn't as much of a fight as the Series X. But what Matt recommends, and I would echo this recommendation, is to spend the extra $100 and get the console that takes discs, because it's going to save you money in the long run. When you buy the digital edition consoles, you have to buy everything through the company store, just like you would an iPhone, and you can get some good deals there, but you're locked into a marketplace. And a lot of times, especially with PlayStation, it seems like the disc games after a year or two, they're extremely cheap. They'll go from like $60 to like $10. And so, plus you can buy used games, things like that. So you'll, if you're much of a gamer, or the person you're buying this for is much of a gamer, you or they will probably save quite a bit of money over the long haul buying the console that takes discs. So yeah, and definitely don't pay more for a digital edition. I'll point out some other resources. So you definitely follow Matt on Twitter. And then when you follow him, you go to his profile page and click or tap the little bell. And what that's going to do is you're going to get a notification every time he tweets. And so that way, if he tweets about an upcoming drop, then you're going to know about it instantly. You're not going to miss it. Another one that's good to follow Chito Gamin YT, and that's ChitoGaminyt. He's another one that tweets about drops. He's a bit wordier, so you're going to get a lot of tweet notifications for things that aren't PlayStation or Xbox drops, and that's kind of annoying. But you're going to put with some annoyance if you really want to get one of these things. And there's another YouTube channel you want to leave open at all times. It's called DataLover, DataLover, and DataLover has a 24/7 stream that's automated that sounds an alarm when a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox drops at a store. So, just leave that running constantly, because these things drop all hours of the day. Sometimes they drop at 2 a.m., 7 a.m., noon. It can happen at any time. And most of them are not announced in advance. So you want to have that alert. You want to have that alarm. And another tip, too. Okay, so for all the usual suspect places you would go, which would be GameStop, Walmart, Amazon, Best Buy, Antonline is another one. They've had quite a few drops. A lot of people don't know about. Newegg is another one. Make sure you have an account set up. Make sure you have everything set up right. Like you have your shipping address right. You have your credit card information in there. And make sure all that's good to go, because a lot of times when these things drop, you have seconds to add to your cart and check out. So you don't want any slowdowns whatsoever. You want a straight shot to the virtual checkout line. If you're an Apple user, you have a secret weapon in the form of Apple Pay. Because with Apple Pay, and this works at least on Target and Best Buy, probably works some other places too. But if you're using Apple Pay, you just tap the Apple Pay button, you do the Face ID scan, you do the Touch ID scan, and you're done. You're not having to enter numbers or shipping information. It's the fastest way I know to check out of any store, even if you don't have an account. And so there have been times when I've bought things that were in high demand. I used Apple Pay, and it just makes things a lot faster. It really increases your chances.
This sounds like a military operation, Josh.
Yes. Yeah. And I took it with the seriousness that I would have taken a final exam in college or, any other big project. I studied the market. I spent like 2 hours listening to one of Matt's Twitter spaces, just getting all these different facts and figures and information. Like, for instance, a funny thing I learned from him is that, so Amazon, they tend to drop theirs at midnight Seattle time. And the reason they do, and they'll do it after a big sales day, like Cyber Monday. And the reason they do that is on the assumption that over the day, you'll add things to your cart that you kind of want to buy, but you're not sure. And then they'll drop that PlayStation 5, they'll drop that Xbox at the end of the day, and then you're just rushing to check out, and you just buy everything in your cart because you don't want to waste any time. So there's lots of little tricks retailers are using to take full advantage of the situation. Another couple of tricks that actually work in your favor, believe it or not. So a lot of retailers like Walmart and Best Buy and Amazon are having, they all have these membership programs now. Walmart has Walmart Plus. That's like a competitor with Amazon Prime. It's like $100 a year. And Best Buy has something called like TechNet or something like that. It's like $200 a year. You get like tech support and other stuff with that, and they're having a lot of these drops only for paying members. And that's actually how I got my PlayStation 5 is I subscribe to Walmart Plus. This does not work with a trial. You have to bypass the trial and go ahead and pay them the $13 or whatever. I got the monthly, so I just bought 1 month of it and then canceled it after I got the PlayStation. And Walmart's actually a really good place to get these because they announce their drops days in advance. Like they'll say, okay, Monday at 12 noon, we're Eastern time, we're doing a drop only for only for Walmart Plus members. And so when to be lined up. And the other nice thing about Walmart is it's not just who can click the fastest. It's a queue system. You go to the link, and then you get put in a virtual queue, and it has a countdown timer that isn't very reliable. Like I was in it and it told me 10 minutes and then it counted down to 1 and then just reset back to 10 minutes. So, and then when one finally popped, it was at like 7 minutes and just, so totally unreliable timer on Walmart. So here's the trick on Walmart. This is the thing that helped score me the PlayStation. So this doesn't work with just one web browser, but if you have multiple web browsers, like let's say you have like Safari, Chrome, Brave, just Opera, just as many different Firefox, as many different web browsers as you can. You open up that page in each one of those web browsers, right? I had like 10 different windows on my screen. Each one of those. Now, this doesn't work for multiple windows in the same browser, right? It has to be separate browsers. But each browser you open that buy page on gives you an additional spot in the queue. And so you want to take full advantage. If you do the Walmart thing, take full advantage of that situation. Get on your Mac, every Mac you have, every iPad you have, every iPhone you have, open every browser you can get on those pages and just watch as many as you can watch and just keep your eye on them. And then, be ready when they pop and you're given the chance to buy. And on Walmart, you get 10 minutes to check out, which is pretty nice. Like most of these places, you're scrambling to check out in like 10 seconds or less. Walmart, once you have your spot, you have 10 minutes to finish your checking out. So if you're wanting to go for a Walmart drop, I don't think buying a month of Walmart Plus is such a bad thing. I kind of hate it because I feel like they're kind of grifting on the situation. But the nice thing, the reason it works in your advantage is it discourages the bots, right? Like people aren't going to buy 5,000 Walmart Plus subscriptions, to try to get a place. That cuts into their profits they make when they're scalping these things. Another kind of shady thing retailers are doing, and this isn't new, but it does help you against the bots, is if you go for bundles. Like a lot of retailers, when there's a new hot console, they don't want to just sell you the console. They want to sell you a console and an extra controller and a couple of games you may or may not want, and some other stuff. And if it's stuff in the bundle that you like, or at least are okay with, that's not such a bad thing, because again, the bot people don't like to go for bundles, because then they can't just scalp the $500 PlayStation. Now they have to figure out how to move 2 games and the controller and everything else. And a lot of times those games are digital codes that are tied to a specific PlayStation account or Xbox account. And so they're harder to move. Oh, by the way, yeah, so mentioning Sony, that's another thing you need to sign up for too. If you're going for the PlayStation, Sony has a site you can go, and they have a lottery that they send out, emails every so often, like basically enter into this lottery, and if you win, then you get a chance to buy a PlayStation from Sony, and your chance with that is about 90%. It's not sure, it's not 100% sure, but it's as close to a sure bet as you can get when buying a PlayStation 5. So that's something you definitely don't want to miss out on. Get all your family members to sign up for PlayStation accounts and sign up for the Great PlayStation Lottery, and that will also help increase your chances.
This Mac Voices is sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Are you carrying a credit card balance month after month? You're not the only one. High interest rates make it hard to pay off your debt, but there's an alternative to those rising monthly balances. Join the thousands of happy borrowers who have made that final payment by checking out Upstart. Upstart is a leading artificial intelligence lending platform designed to improve access to affordable credit. Unlike other lenders, though, Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, things like your income and your employment history. That means they can offer smarter rates with trusted partners. And that means that you get to that final payment sooner. Is a 5-minute online rate check worth it to see what your rate can be? You can see that rate upfront for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. Do it right now as that first step to your final payment. I want you to find out what your options are. Visit upstart.com/MacVoices. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today. That's upstart.com/MacVoices. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Upstart.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Upstart for their support of MacVoices. Josh, that's wild. And they say, oh, us Apple people are crazy for getting up at 3 a.m. and trying to buy things on release day. This takes it to a whole different level.
Oh, it's absolutely insane. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's absolutely insane. It's capitalism run amok. And, quite frankly, I don't see the point of getting these consoles right now because no one can buy them. And so companies aren't, making games for them. It takes like $1 billion to make a AAA game these days. No company is going to sink $1 billion into a game that, 10 people can buy. So a lot of these games are reissues or like, what's the case with a lot of PlayStation games is a lot of the latter PlayStation 4 games actually run really poorly on the PlayStation 4. They're really intended for the PlayStation 5. So a lot of people are buying a PlayStation 5 just so they can properly play their PlayStation 4 games. It's just, frankly, I think it's ridiculous. But I did this as a favor to a family member, and I imagine a lot of our viewers are, if they get roped into this sort of madness, that's something, that's probably why they're doing it too. Another thing I will suggest too, if you're going on the Xbox front, they have a program. I think it's called Xbox All Access. So Microsoft's console gaming strategy is they're trying to turn the Xbox into a service, right? Like Netflix. They have this service called Xbox Game Pass, and there's different tiers of it, but it runs about $25 a month. And if you're a casual gamer, it's not a bad deal because you pay that monthly fee and you get total access to that library of games you can play just whenever you want. And it always includes the Microsoft first-party stuff. So like the Xbox Flight Simulator, the new Halo game, stuff like that. So it's a pretty good deal if you're an Xbox person. Well, they have a deal called it's Xbox All Access, I think it's called, and you pay. It's kind of like the iPhone upgrade program. You pay a flat fee for like 2 years, and you get the Game Pass and you get the console on an installment plan. And I think it's was it $25 a month if you get the Series S, and like $35 a month if you get the Series X. And a lot of times, and they sell this through retailers, like Walmart's got a special page for it, GameStop has a special page for it. And a lot of times, you'll have an easier time getting a Series X. The Series S is pretty easy to get, but Series X you can usually have an easier time getting it if you get it through this program. Because again, the scalpers cannot sell these consoles easily because they're tied into a 2-year service agreement, tied to a Microsoft account and all that. So that's another option. But that's basically the gist of what I have to offer. Just look for the people like Matt Swider and Cheeto Gaming and DataLover that they focus 24/7 on helping people get consoles, and somehow they make money at this. Somehow they make a living doing that. And heed their advice. Make sure you're logged into all the appropriate accounts that you would need. Make sure you enter if you're going for a PlayStation 5, make sure you enter the Sony lottery on the off chance you get an invite. If Walmart announces a drop and you're tempted to get Walmart Plus, it's probably worth it. It will increase your chances. Also, the same thing. Now, I wouldn't recommend signing up for like Costco or Sam's Club just for a console, but if you're already a member of one of those, they have drops pretty often too, and that's going to be a bit more bot resistant than just trying to check out of a regular store. And then also, and don't be afraid to check physical stores. Sometimes you get lucky. I had a friend call me. It was a bit too late at this point, but his son wandered to a GameStop one night, and they just had a bunch of PlayStation 5s there, just out of the blue. And guess what? The bots can't get those. It used to be, it was easier to get this stuff online. Like I remember I bought a family member a PlayStation 3 years ago when those were hard to get. And my secret then was I bought it from Newegg, and nobody knew what the heck that was. Meanwhile, people were like lining up outside GameStop. These days, you might have an easier time, going into GameStop and getting one. One last thing I will mention is and I don't know what to tell you to do about this, but a lot of people have reported, especially through FedEx, that their packages go mysteriously missing at some point, because the PlayStation 5 comes in a pretty big box, pretty distinctive box, and now I will say this time of year especially, shipping delays are common. My order from Walmart was delayed by a day, so if that happens, don't immediately panic. I also noticed when I got this PlayStation 5 from FedEx, they put it in a much larger box. Like, it came in just like almost a crate. It was such a big box, and I think part of the reason they're doing that now is to help disguise the console. But before you get your kids all excited about, oh, I got a PlayStation 5, make sure you have it in hand, because there's lots of things that could go wrong between it being sent out of the warehouse and arriving at your house. So.
Josh, I thought this was going to be like a 3-minute spot where, oh yeah, you go here, you go there, and maybe you use this code, and it's like, holy cow, this is kind of amazing. I don't know, man. I remember watching some friends jump through the hoops with the Tickle Me Elmo or the Cabbage Patch Kids or different things along the way, and that was bad enough. But this just takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. I stayed all night in the freezing cold on a sidewalk to get someone a Wii back when they were first released, and that was that wasn't quite as insane as this. And again, if you're just wanting one for yourself, I would wait. My personal philosophy with gaming consoles is I try to wait for the first hardware revision, because by then they knock quite a bit off the price. The hardware is refined and more reliable. There's more games out for it, and usually the games are cheaper, right? Like I said, that's the case with PlayStation games. A lot of the times they'll be $60 one year and $10 the next. The scale works really well there. So there's no harm in waiting, and there's probably a lot of existing games you haven't played yet. So there's no harm in waiting a little bit.
Yeah, but there's always that holiday pressure that, you want it under the tree. And,
oh, yeah.
So thank you. I mean, honestly, I there's a whole subculture out there that I don't know anything about, and I'm kind of glad I don't. That is just figuring out how to get these consoles in people's hands. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It's nuts. I'm glad to not be participating anymore.
Yeah.
What's funny though, speaking of supply chain issues, I had an easier time buying a PlayStation 5 than I had buying my mother a propane grill. She asked for a propane grill for her birthday in July, and I just now got it to her like a week after the PlayStation 5. I had stores giving me the wrong grill. Like, they were giving me like natural gas grills instead of propane. I had orders canceled with no explanation why. It was just a total nightmare trying to get her a Weber grill. And now I've gotten that. So, maybe this advice will apply to many things that are messed up in our supply chain, and hopefully this all gets cleared up eventually.
Yeah. Signs of the time, I guess. Signs of the time.
Yeah.
Josh, before we head out, I want to make sure folks know where they can find you when you're not standing all night waiting for a Wii or figuring out strategies to buy an Xbox. What are the best places to connect with you?
All right. So you can read my Apple articles at tidbits.com. You can read my prepper articles at theprepared.com. You can read my Apple-related books at takecontrolbooks.com. And you can read my mental diarrhea on Twitter at jcenters.
Excellent. Josh, I hope you and your family have a terrific holiday, Xbox or not, PlayStation or not. And we'll get you back here soon to talk about whatever your next project is.
All right. Merry Christmas, Chuck.
Merry Christmas. There you go. I hope you get the gift that you want, if it's an Xbox or a PlayStation. And if you are looking for those, I'm sure Josh has just helped you. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, Consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.